I call this meeting to order. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, the Highland Park Board of Education has given adequate notice of this meeting by having published the date, time, and place of this meeting in the Home News Tribune, and has posted notice of this meeting at Middle School, 330 Wayne Street, Highland Park, New Jersey. Linda, could we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Aversa?
Here.
Ms. Berkowitz?
Here.
Ms. Bull?
Here.
Mr. Dietz?
Here.
Ms. Hughes? Ms. Pointer-Titus? Mr. Ross?
Here.
Ms. Scherber?
Here.
Mr. Sherman?
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 7th regular public and executive sessions?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? No? Could we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Aversa?
Yes.
Ms. Berkowitz?
Yes.
Ms. Bull?
Yes.
Mr. Dietz?
Abstain.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Scherber?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
I'm sorry, just for the record, I want a paper copy next time.
There's one in the
There-
audience. You want
okay.
it now?
Yeah, I do.
Can you just hand her one of those? Yeah.
Oh, the agenda?
Yeah. This is pitiful.
She has an agenda.
Just the arrow key.
She has the agenda.
Do that.
I'm going to need to send you back to school, Catherine.
That's right. Thank you very much. All right. Linda, were there any communications?
Not this time.
Thank you. Tim, could we have a superintendent's update?
Okay, we want to start with a recognition of Harry Landis. If you'd like to come up. So we brought Harry up because he was recognized as the high school top performer for his work as in soccer. And there were a couple of really nice articles about him, not just about his performance on the field, but all the other things that he's involved in, such as raising almost $35,000 for Buddy Ball, what a great leader he was for the team, just an outstanding person he is in general. And so we really thought it was appropriate that to be able to come to the board meetings and be able to present some of our student athletes and people that are doing great things for their community and be able to recognize them publicly. So thank you.
Absolutely. Understood.
We're excited for his band to play next week at the thing.
The next, we had a communication that's, I guess, for conversation with the board in reference to the schools participating in the Veterans Day Parade. There was a request as far as whether or not the students would be able to walk up to the main road and be able to see the opening ceremonies. So that would be in November 11th. I had asked some questions as far as safety, as far as the police presence, and just looking for some feedback from the board on whether or not this is something that we would want the students to be able to participate in. The request would be a couple hours out of the school day on that date. And this was from Jay Weinberg, who was also suggesting that through the Middlesex County Veterans Alliance that they could possibly send speakers to prepare people beforehand so that the students had a better understanding of Veterans Day and the parade.
Are there teachers interested in participating?
We haven't published this yet to the staff. It was just kind of a request. to line the road as the parade went by.
I think this is a very important. I think that our veterans deserve recognition. I think that I grew up with somebody who was a veteran of the Second World War, so I have some awareness, not an understanding of what they went through, but I think this generation may not have that same, may not have the connection as much as if they have younger parents. And I think that the veterans are an important part of the community, and they have served the community and the country. I would really love to see our students out on the avenue. It's usually not a great turnout, but the veterans are always there, and I would love to have a school presence on the avenue.
Is this all veterans? Or do all the veterans from recent wars participate? So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it'd be great because a lot of people coming home from the wars right now look a lot like our students that are in this district, and you know.
I think it's a great idea also.
Yep.
Nothing else to.
All right, then, again, we're going to have to look at just some logistics as far as what it's going to take for students to leave school grounds and be escorted on that date, and we'll provide further information.
However, it should be geared back in some sort of a learning, a lesson for the school as well. So if it is veterans coming or what, I think we should try to figure that out as well.
And the last part of the superintendent's report is the report on violence and vandalism, and that's going to be done by Mr. Israel Soto, the assistant superintendent. Thank you.
Might go to the front.
Flying around with PowerPoint?
He stepped out.
Hold on a second. Where do you see
You could see that?
Well, good evening, everyone. So I have some encouraging news for you
Hold
to
on.
share.
Hold on. You got to take
regarding
it.
Highland Park
Israel.
District
You have to
report.
take a mic. I'm sorry.
Oh.
So I do?
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Yes. Here, here's my mic. One second.
Do you want to use the one at the podium?
Yeah.
We're not usually set up this way, so I'm used to this one.
All right, so I have encouraging news to share with you tonight regarding the state of affairs here at Highland Park in comparison to New Jersey. So there is a very sad trend across New Jersey, and the trend is that the amount of HIB reports have increased substantially, about 50% in the 2012-2013 school year, in fact, by 50%. The data shows us that the increase is noticeable more in the middle schools, where from 5th through 6th grade, there's been an increase of 22.9% of the number of HIB reports, and in 7th through 8th grade, 29.6%. In addition, substance abuse reports have risen also, 15% in middle school and also 11.8% for alcohol abuse. That's not the case here in Highland Park, and that's the encouraging news. And this is what the data shows us. So let's define what violence is. Criminal threats, assault, extortion, fighting, kidnapping, robbery, and sex offenses. HIB. It's an acronym for harassment, intimidation, and bullying. These offenses are reported as a violence beginning 2011-2012 school year, and that year will be reflected in this report. Vandalism includes arson, bomb threat, burglary, damage to property, theft, fireworks, and trespassing. So this is what the data shows us. Let's go back. Previous.
Israel, you can probably hold the microphone if that would be easier.
Okay, here we go. All right, count of incidents. If you notice from 2009 2013, there has been a significant drop in the number of violence reports here at Highland Park. When we compare 2011 to 2012, there was a 6.1 or 60.1 drop from 36 to 22. Vandalisms and weapons, there was a 40% drop. Substance abuse, 0 reports for 2 consecutive years. And HIB, there was a drop of 78.2. So that tells me something very significant. The principals, parents, the teachers, staff, and the community in general, you're doing an excellent job in maintaining a good atmosphere, good culture and climate in all of the schools. So kudos to everyone who's very involved with this. Next slide. In terms of the police notifications, there were 28. Suspensions 2, out-of-school suspensions 51, expulsions 0, suspension of privileges 0. Okay, and this concludes this report. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's all we
Thank
have.
you, Tim. Okay, the student update. Hi.
Okay, it has come to our attention that guidance counselor Mark Lobianco has been moved to the middle school and will not continue his work as a high school guidance counselor. Many students, seniors who had Mr. Lobianco in particular, are upset about this change because they are midway through the college application process and need his guidance. These students are used to having Mr. Lobianco and know him well, now feel completely disoriented. Additionally, students would like some clarification about why Mr. Lobianco was moved in the first place.
Before I move into the recent concerns regarding the study hall policies, the student body would like to know whether the general technology policy will be revisited or possibly changed, or if it's just set in stone as it is right now. But despite having made progress regarding the new study hall policies, no longer requiring students without work to complete skill packets, students feel as if they should have the option of using electronic devices during a study hall period. For many students, a study hall is simply a class taken as a filler, having completed their required classes and oftentimes left without homework to complete during this period. Additionally, some students often work better while listening to music, helping them concentrate and finish their assigned tasks. Electronic devices do not only include iPods and methods of listening to music. Other students often take advantage of the Wi-Fi provided by the school to use resources online in order to further understand specific material or use studying sites, etc. So basically, we just want to know if there's anything that we can do to get more student input, or if this policy isn't going to change in the future.
It gets reviewed every 6 months.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about it a little bit in the curriculum committee report, but there's really only a little bit to talk about. When we wrote the policy, we put in a self-review mechanism so that it had to be reviewed frequently. And so we have feedback that was gathered from last year, and we started discussing changes to the policy, which includes study hall questions and other sorts of things. We are probably going to have a revised policy brought to the meeting next time around. That should probably reflect some of those changes. I think if there are specific changes that the student body wants to see, you can certainly make that known, through your administrators, through Dr. Williams, and those reflect those requests will make their way to us, certainly. Okay, thanks.
So I don't think that we'll have a revised policy next time, probably the time after, because we're still in the process of reviewing, right?
You should say that into the microphone.
I don't think that we'll have a revised policy for the next meeting, because we're actually still in the process of reviewing the policy. So the revisions probably wouldn't come, a policy for first reading, a revised policy for first reading wouldn't come until probably the following meeting.
Maybe, right. We'll see.
The other, that's it. Okay, thank you.
Well, I heard that the homecoming dance was very successful, actually, girls.
Yeah,
They,
it was-
right?
it was
They said, that
fun.
I heard
Yeah.
from a lot of the kids, they thought it was, one of the better ones. They had a lot of fun. There was a good turnout at the game, right? And your girls' soccer team had a big win last week, didn't they?
Yeah, once.
Right? Yeah. Good, all right, congrats.
We missed those reports too. Instead, I mean, I know you
sports
have
stuff.
complaints, but you have to also come and tell us who
Tell us
won
the
it.
good things, too.
Yeah.
What's going on?
What?
I mean, okay, so I guess we can say that this year it's been more successful, I feel, because there was a lot more organization put into it, and something that can turn out to be a negative week, I guess, within the school turned out to be pretty positive this year. So I think, Student Congress is on the right path, and there are a lot of positive things happening within the high school because of these new changes.
I heard the pep rally from my house, and I was excited to hear that not only were the sports figures recognized, but Model UN was recognized, Model Congress was recognized, and a lot of different student organizations to bring, parity between everything in the district that we've strived so hard to do. And everybody was acknowledged for the work that they do individually, which is great. It was exciting.
Apart from girls' soccer, do we have any reports on any of the other sports teams?
The girls' tennis team has been pretty successul this season, I'd say. But
Yeah, boys soccer, they're doing very well, too. Football team is trying hard. It's a rebuilding year.
Cross country's doing well.
Yeah, and they've got a lot more participants out for that, too. So that's great.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
The Highland Park Board of Education welcomes public participation and has reserved this time for your comments. If anybody would like to speak, please go to the microphone and also sign your name legibly and your address, please. State your name and address. Up there at the podium, yeah.
Does anybody have a pen?
Oh, no.
Israel, did you? Thank you.
You still have a pen? Yeah. I don't know. It's all right.
She has a pen?
No, you must have stole the pen from up there.
I did.
Sorry. Probably forced to happen.
It's his first official act as assistant superintendent.
I still pencil.
I do it all the time.
Wherever I go. And then I put it in my mouth.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rita Polos. I live at 48 Skyview Terrace. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the change recently that was made at the middle school with respect to the guidance counselor, Ms. Collins. I've spoken to several other parents who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but we've shared different concerns, and I'm kind of representing them as well, and if need be, they're, with more time permitting, they can come to the next meeting. So I'm basically speaking on behalf of what we all generally feel. Basically, we're very disappointed about the abrupt nature in which Ms. Collins was removed rather quickly. I think it created a lot of anxiety with the kids. They just didn't see it coming. They didn't have a chance to digest it. She is a very valuable person in the middle school. One of the possible solutions that we discussed was to possibly have her remain in the middle school to continue to provide social guidance. I understand that there was an issue with her not having the curriculum capabilities, to do curriculum, but what she provided was much more valuable in the 4 years that she was here. And I was very happy to see your report. It was right on time because that was right around the time when she had come in the past 4 years. She's been instrumental in so many aspects here in the middle school. She's proven herself. 98% of the work she's done has been very successful with the kids. I think everyone would agree that the middle school years can be very challenging for most kids. Puberty, bullying, cliques, changing friends, sex, social media, you name it. I mean, when we send our babies, basically coming from Bartle, into the middle school to become preteens, they're faced with all of it. And Olga, in many different cases that I know over the years, I have an older daughter who's in the high school now who deals with Mr. Lobianco, which she absolutely loves. He's very good at what he does. But I've seen it, and I've seen where Olga has been just pivotal in helping provide that nurturing nature that she has with all these different things that go on in the middle school. Let me just say that having had the 2 daughters deal with her in the past 4 years, she's worth her weight in gold. She's calmed many fires. I know this through other parents as well. She's accessible. She develops a wonderful, trusting relationship with the kids, with all the kids. They truly feel comfortable talking to her, confiding in her. She's always there. She provides that nurturing aspect. So needless to say, we're upset about it. I dealt with Mr. Lobianco, as I had said, and he's done a great job with my daughter, and this is nothing against Mr. Lobianco at all. I would like to suggest that perhaps you could expand his responsibilities to cover the middle school when it comes to a curriculum issue, and continue to leave Olga in her capacity that she's in now to help the kids, to socially help them. I know she's part of the HIB. She was, instrumental with the kids. My daughter's on that group, where they work with the anti-bullying, and she's doing a wonderful job there. This is the first time that I've ever come to the board to make a request. I feel very strongly that if this plan stays the way that it is, that it's going to have a very negative impact on the middle school and on the kids. I have confidence in the board. It's a small town. We're dealing with, 100 kids per grade, 120, something to that effect. I think that by moving her, particularly moving her as quickly as she went out, the kids didn't have a chance to digest the whole change. And like I said, it did create a lot of anxiety. But I think that if possibly you could take that into consideration, possibly having her role continue here, and if she doesn't have the right certification or whatever the reason was, maybe there's some way that the board can go back, revisit it, keep her here, somehow get creative. But I speak on behalf of a number of other parents as well. And I would just like to leave you knowing that I think it's going to be a very bad thing for the middle school to have her leave. I'd like to know if it's possible, if there's some way that she can be reinstated temporarily, if you're thinking about possibly making a change, just to kind of ease some of the fears that some of the kids have, because right now I know that there's quite a few of them that found a lot of comfort with her. So if you are considering it, if it's something that can be done, where you can get creative and kind of have her and Mr. Lobianco overlap roles. We're a small town, small school district. There has to be some way. I would appreciate it, and I know a number of the other parents would as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Anybody else?
Hi, Donna Nolan, 97 Lincoln Avenue. I'm here to speak about the honors chemistry class in the high school. The honors chemistry class is supposed to be a higher level class, and it's supposed to be a class that's getting the students ready to take the SAT subject area test. We learned in early October that they weren't using a book in the class. I find this kind of hard to believe that there's no book in an honors chemistry class. I guess we brought that concern to the teacher. Mid-October, they handed out books. It's great, but all the kids don't have the same book, so the teacher's not teaching from the book. This is a concern I have. How can you teach a high-level chemistry class like this without some kind of resource for these kids? The kids were handed a book and told this is to be used for a reference. So the teacher is not using the book, not following the book. There was no syllabus handed out at the beginning of the year. She occasionally gives out handouts to the kids. She's not using a handout on a regular basis. The handout sometimes does not have anything to do with what she's doing that day in the class. It doesn't relate to anything. I have a real concern about the impact to these kids being able to learn chemistry this year. There's very little structure going on in this class, and might I add, it's a brand-new teacher. So I find this really hard that you bring in a brand-new teacher to teach a class, and she doesn't have anything to follow. Is there somebody who's monitoring what she's doing in that class? Is she given any help? I mean, I have no idea what's going on. From what I understand, the kids are struggling to understand their assignments. They don't have any idea how their current unit that they're doing on a day fits into the whole process of the chemistry. They're struggling to understand what the teacher's looking for. She's very inconsistent on a particular test. One part of the test will ask for something, then another part of the test will ask for something different, and the kids are struggling to understand her grading process. The learning that they're doing every day is not tied to any written product that they have. I had understand that they were looking into an online text, which I fully support if you can integrate this into the classroom. But I have real concerns that these kids who are 7 weeks into school, this is not the time to be figuring out what's going on with the honors chemistry class. We need to figure this out now. These kids, they're struggling in there, and it's your responsibility to make sure they have the tools that they don't need to struggle. And at this point, I can't even see any of them being ready to take the SAT subject area test because they can't even teach it to themselves because they have no idea where they are in the book. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Is there anybody else?
Hi, Jerry Callahan, 89 Lincoln Avenue. I was not planning on speaking, but something that Donna said just triggered something in my mind. My son is in the honors chemistry class as well, and he's been complaining all along. And when I hear my children complain, I usually just kind of chalk it up to, well, you know what, every teacher's different. You have to learn and just deal with it usually. But when I start hearing the same type of complaints across the board, then my antenna go up. And that's kind of what's happened here, and that's why I attended tonight's meeting. But just to add to what Donna said, I was asking my son about it, and I'm just following up in the online resource because I know that that's going on in a lot of classes where there are online resources for the students to go and consult and look at, and textbooks are even online. So if they want to study on their own and they want to look things up or they don't understand something, they can go online and do that. So I asked my son about that in the chemistry class, and he said that as far as he knows, it's not really available. So he's kind of struggling because he feels he's struggling to grasp the material. He doesn't have resources to go to even try and study it on his own. So if there would be online resources that were available, I'm sure that that would help the children as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Is there anybody else?
Eleventh or 12th, probably. I'm sure.
Hi, Debbie Petrisco, 113 North 3rd Ave. I would just like to voice a concern about class offerings at the high school. As Mr. Capone, you get to know Highland Park and each school and its administrators and the teachers. I ask you to get to know the student population and see that this one-size-fits-all doesn't really work for all the students in Highland Park. According to the 2010-2011 HESPA scores, 36.9% scored advanced on the language arts. That leaves 63.1%. The college prep just can't serve all those students. I ask for a review of the levels offered to be more than honors or college prep. That's it. Just look at what we offer.
Thank you, Debbie. Anybody else?
Can we talk about the chemistry and what's going to happen in terms of the review of that?
I think, don't we have to go back to the school and find out what's going on and get more information? I mean, I don't think we can talk about it here.
There's nothing I can add at this point.
Okay.
Can I just thank everybody that came tonight to give comments? It really helps us.
You know, we rely on our administration to get a lot of this information. We rely on our students and everybody to get us this information, but sometimes we also need to rely on word of mouth and parents to get us this kind of information. And by going through the appropriate steps, that's important, but something like that, it's going to get addressed immediately. I would imagine that that's one of the first things that happens in the morning.
Go ahead. Yeah.
It's really just more of a question. My name is Colleen McKay, 119 Johnson Street. And I guess my question was really just about protocol when it comes here. Is there a way that there is an opportunity for dialogue about any of the comments that were raised? Because, no.
No, as I say, usually we don't have the information on most of
Okay.
of the things that were brought up, and it would
Okay.
be inappropriate for us to even try to converse about it because
Okay.
we are not in the
You don't
schools and we don't
necessarily have
know.
all the details.
And
Okay.
the super.
And really, the easiest thing to do is, we have a phone that you can call the central office, or an email where you can email it so that these things can be registered and taken care of.
Right.
Again, I don't have all that information
That's
to
okay,
be able to
sure.
provide at this point, but as soon as you have an issue that comes up, again, feel free to contact me so that
Right.
I can follow up on it as soon as possible.
Okay, so just for the larger collective then of this, since other people have similar, clearly some common concerns, I did email right away Mr. Lassiter with the same concern about Ms. Collins. He was very responsive, and I understand there are challenges that we probably aren't aware of course. But I guess my question is, how would we as parents get a better understanding collectively of what happens next? And it may be that nothing happens, and I understand that, that's fine, but for the chemistry issue, how does that happen?
Well,
Or
for
does it-
individual issues or for something that is raised, a concern specifically, let's say about honors chemistry, once we have that information, we can follow up.
Right.
For other issues, things that are personnel issues,
Right.
those are not things that can be discussed.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
At the next board meeting, the board will have a response, the administration will have a response to the issues that were brought up today. Or throughout.
Tomorrow.
Right,
we'll
tomorrow
have a
they will have,
response on honors
they'll have
chemistry.
to us and in a public forum, it will happen, yes.
Tomorrow.
New administration, kicking on all cylinders. Yes. The board might find out through an email personally, but there's no forum.
Anybody else out there? Okay. Dan, could we have the curriculum committee report, please?
Sure. The curriculum committee did meet this evening, and we discussed a few items, two of which I'll discuss. I'll report out on. The first is that there was a group of parents who brought forth a Lego robotics and engineering program that was brought up last board meeting, and there were some communications that were brought to the board. And the curriculum committee has decided that we will be moving forward with the program. It is a program it's an after-school program for students in grades 2 through 5, and we are currently going to be exploring funding options for the program, but we have decided, and rightly so, it is a very exciting program for students of this age, and we're very much looking forward to bringing it into the school. The second item was what we had a brief discussion about before. It's the electronic devices policy. And as I mentioned, the policy itself, when we wrote it last school year, does have a self-review piece to it that is mandatory, and we will be reviewing it. We have, as I mentioned, some comments from the last administration about how it went during the end of last school year, and we have some suggested changes. We may be able to make those changes and bring them for first reading to the board by the next board meeting, but if not, we'll certainly bring the updates and what we discussed to the board meeting at that time for possible discussion on how the policy will be changed or what changes might take place. And with that, I'd like to move items 2 through 7.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, a question about the policy review. Can you talk about the feedback that we received, or do you want to wait? Do you want to save that until you present the policy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too specific with the feedback, but it was changes like what should be allowed in study hall, what should be allowed in lunch, what should be allowed in the hallways, those types of things. And so, we've asked the current administration for feedback on how they sort of view things at this point. and then we'll take everything into consideration and discuss, what changes we think we'd like to implement moving forward.
Personally, this is up for the committee, but I would love to see ebook readers included in the policy. So, and I would like it also at Bartle, but that we can have that discussion, I guess, when we present the policy, but that's a personal opinion.
Any other comments? Could we have a roll call, please?
Sorry. Ms. Aversa?
Yes.
Ms. Berkowitz?
Yes.
Ms. Bull?
Yes.
Mr. Dietz?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Scherber?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Adam, could we have the Finance Committee report, please?
Yes. The Finance Committee met tonight. We discussed a number of items on the agenda tonight and a few items to report out on. I want to draw your attention to numbers 11 and 12, which is our renewal of our natural gas quote. We received one that was a reduced price than our last year, and we have decided to go with the new company. The Finance Committee received and everybody in the board packet received the comprehensive maintenance plan. That's to go with the QSAC requirement to do that. That's items 13 and 14. We also received another change to our service contract with the air conditioning company. That's number 16 and 17. That is also at a reduced price from what we were paying previously. I also want to report out on a few items of projects that have been ongoing. The Bartle School air conditioning project has been completed. Linda has gone into the program, has gone into the auditorium, and she said she felt the air blowing in her hair. The high school auditorium project. The high school auditorium project has also been 99.9% complete. There are a few items on the upstairs that is actually, we're not using the upstairs, but it's for the lighting portion of the stage. But we're also, excited to announce that the grand opening for the auditorium will be this October 28th. Many of you have received invites, greatly prepared by Susan Odato, to be invited to this program that we're having. We'll be having a student talent show and showcase of the new auditorium, which we're excited that we have different student bands from around the community who will be performing and acknowledge many of the people who have helped made the high school auditorium possible. What else did we talk about? We also the committee also reviewed the school facilities policy. The committee was asked to make a judgment on a particular group who was applying to provide services with the Highland Park Sports Program, and it is a private institution who was using our facilities for their own benefit, but by also in providing services to our students. And they were asking for a discount on the facilities use policy. And the committee had reviewed the policy, and we're recommending to stick to the policy and to not offer a discount for the program. And if anybody has any objections to that, please let me know. And with that, I would like to move items 2 through 22 on the addendum.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? No? Linda, could we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Aversa?
Yes.
Ms. Berkowitz?
Yes.
Ms. Bull?
Yes.
Mr. Dietz?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Scherber?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
A Personnel Committee report? Who would like to do that?
Sure.
I'll do it, in the absence of Chandra. We met briefly tonight, and I will draw your attention to the appointment of the assistant baseball coach. Also, we have a maternity leave, and the appointment of a home instructor. So with that, I would like...
You have the addendum also. Don't forget the addendum.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yep.
And the addendum. The appointment of an assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction and assessment, and the appointment of a substitute board secretary, and the appointment of affirmative action officer, who is Israel Soto. He is also the substitute board secretary, and he's been here for 1 week, and we're delighted to have him.
Thank you.
And with that, I would like to move items 2 through 7.
There seems to be 2 number 5s. Item 5s.
Oh.
So I think we're,
2 through 8.
6,
yeah.
7, 8. 2 through 8?
2 through, okay, so with that, I'd like to move items 2 through
2 weeks.
8.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just have one comment about Michelle. I told the board this, but I want to tell the public. I actually attended a conference on behalf of the board for a Healthier Schools program that we're participating in. And Michelle, the new assistant superintendent for curriculum who we're hiring tonight, spoke there. And when she was done, I was so impressed with her. I turned to Linda and I was like, I want to hire this person. And then today in the meeting, Tim brought up the name and I was like, I swear I know this person before. I've heard of this person before, and I was right that it is the person who had spoke at that conference. And from what I saw from that half-hour presentation that she gave to the conference, I was thoroughly impressed with the work that she has done, and I'm very excited, as Tim saw in the closed session meeting, at least of the thought of her coming. We'll see what kind of work she does here, but the work that she's done so far was great.
Is there any other discussion?
I do want to say that Tim showed us a breakdown of the costs of all the different administrative positions, and we're actually saving money, so, which is great.
Yep.
Which we appreciate.
And we're getting things done that were not done, jobs that were not being previously done.
Yes. So.
Anything else? Could we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Aversa?
Yes.
Ms. Berkowitz?
Yes.
Ms. Bull?
Yes.
Mr. Dietz?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Scherber?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
And is there a policy committee report?
No, there isn't.
Thank you. There is no president's report. Is there any old business? Nothing. Is there any new business?
Yes. Does everybody get this?
Yes.
Okay. I was reading this morning, and there was 3 things I just wanted to call your attention to. Page 15 about cleaner air in the schools. I don't know if that's an issue for us. I think I've heard about mold from time to time. I don't know if that's still an issue. There's an article about Facebook policy for board members, which I think is probably important for us to talk about. And, AP courses for all. And it was written by the superintendent in Bergenfield. And it was just very interesting about opening up AP classes to all students, which I don't know what our policy is here.
2 years ago, we made it a board goal to recruit different populations into our AP classes.
Yeah. Has it worked?
There was very mixed success, but we invested the money at the board level, and we actually brought it at the prestige of putting it on as a board goal. And we actually had it on for 2 years consecutively. We had a report on it. There was mixed results. You know, we can't force anybody to take a class, but we did recruit, and we worked with the guidance counselors to work with the children to encourage students who would not normally take an AP course to try one out.
It wasn't just, we actually, we offered readiness classes to specific students to try to sort of prep them for for AP.
We would love for our classes, our AP courses to look more
So
diverse.
something was tried and it didn't get the results we wanted, but maybe there's other ways. Anyway, it was very interesting. I did send an email to the superintendent. He wrote me back, and he said on their website they have tons of PowerPoints and things about how they went around about increasing rigor for all. So I thought it was just very interesting. So I wanted to bring it up.
I have one piece of old business, and it's happened 5 minutes ago. On the finance agenda, I forgot to redact two items that were on the agenda, so I don't know how you want to handle that. You want to just do it a minute correction? Okay.
It's a duplicate.
Yep.
It was approved at the last meeting.
Yep.
Is there any other new business? Okay. We actually have to, public comment again. The Highland Park Board of Education welcomes public participation and has reserved this time for your comments. Are there any comments from anyone?
So suspenseful, right?
My name is Darcy Cimaresti, 312 Grant Avenue. I have three semi-related things that I'd like to bring to your attention. The first, one of the issues you guys know I look at very closely is charter school issues. So I wanted to let you know that Hatikva International Academy Charter School has indeed petitioned the state for the expansion request that we were fairly confident that they were going to petition the state for. So that application was submitted to the state on October 15th. Regulations state that from that October 15th date, we then have 60 days to respond. The interesting thing is because Hatikva was only officially supposed to serve East Brunswick, this notice was only served upon East Brunswick. So clearly I have contacts there who've gotten a hold of that application. I've got the application, so I can distribute copies of that to the board. There are two particularly interesting things about the application. I have confirmed with the state that Hatikva is only approved to serve grades K through 5. However, the powers that be at Hatikva, their board of trustees, seem to feel that they are already approved grades K to 8. So their application includes that they are already grades K through 8. That's not the expansion that they are looking for. The expansion that they are looking for is actually to add a third class in each of those grades. So they are pre-assuming that they are already a K to 8 institution and that they will be increasing their class size in each of those grades K to 8 from what is now currently 50 students to 75 students. So we're faced with an expansion that's even greater than what we had considered. So if they're granted this approval, based on the numbers in their application by the, I think it's 2018-2019 school year, they would be looking to serve approximately 600 students, which is double their current capacity, which now where they're at, we're sending 20 students for a total of about $300,000. We could be looking at potentially a $600,000 plus bill in a few years down the road. So this is something that I would encourage our district to take very seriously. We certainly, as members of the community who worked on the charter school issues before, will come together again. We will reach out to the other affected districts. We now have 22 districts that we can potentially reach out to. This school is drawing from all across the state, from as far north as Teaneck, as far south as Manalapan. It's covering a vast territory. So we have a lot of potential allies that I'm sure don't want to see increased funds leaving their district. There's also a second application that I just want to make everybody aware of, and I'll keep an eye on, that another application cycle was also started on October 15th. There's been an application submitted in Plainfield. The operator happens to be in New Brunswick, so it's just something we need to keep an eye on. I think a charter school in Plainfield, we've seen with Central Jersey Charter, we now have a couple kids going there. You know, a couple kids here, a couple kids there, a few more there. It all eventually adds up to numbers that become quickly untenable for us. So I will keep an eye on that one and report out to you guys as it unfolds. This raises the issue of how we as a district not only respond to these kind of applications, but how we present ourselves to our population of parents, how we think of ourselves. I've been very concerned over the last couple months that the feedback that I'm hearing from parents as they're leading board meetings is that we are now a below average district. And I want us to really evaluate that. I want us to really look at our district. I want us to really look at our population. I want us to really look at how we serve our children, how we see ourselves, how we present ourselves. I think we're playing with fire to present ourselves as a below average district. And I want to let the board in on something that perhaps we haven't looked at as a district. We have a population unlike any population in our surrounding area. And I've gone onto the Education Law Center website. They have incredible resources of data. You can look at achievement gaps, you can look at economics, you can look at race, and you can look at all of these things. Our school doesn't look like any other school. Our free reduced lunch population is at 36%. In 1998 to 1999, we were at 27%. It has grown almost 10%. Other districts surrounding us, Edison is at half of the free reduced lunch population that we have. They're at 18%, an increase from 11%. East Brunswick, 13%, an increase from 6%. South Brunswick, 12%, an increase from 8%. We have twice to 3 times the poverty of any of our neighboring districts. We do not have a below average district. We have a very diverse district. We have students with needs that quite possibly we are not meeting fully yet, and we absolutely should, and we absolutely must, but it does not make us below average. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Would anybody else like to speak?
I just have a quick question, actually. Go ahead. It was regarding the field trips. I spoke to Mr. Coleman about when he sent in his proposal for the field trip Oh, sorry. I spoke to Mr. Coleman about how he sent in the proposal for the band trip to Washington, D.C. in the spring, and I noticed that it wasn't on the list of approved field trips over the past few meetings, so I just wanted to know if that would be considered soon, or...
Actually may have gotten lost in the sauce.
I can't sign off on them if they don't hit my desk.
Okay. Yeah.
So as soon as I see them, they come through.
Okay.
He may have to resubmit it. I have a feeling, because
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing it. It usually comes to the curriculum committee, and I don't remember seeing it.
It's been a little switch of administration, people moving around.
Okay. Thank you.
To you?
Question, go ask.
All right. We actually do have to go back into closed session after this, so I need a motion to go into closed session immediately following this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.